What are you talking about?
You can't stay, and I can't go.
Since Disney acquired Star Wars in 2012, one may argue that Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, is the best film they've produced yet. The new characters, notably Cassian and Andor, were and still are a big part of that. So when Andor was announced, there was genuine enthusiasm, even if it was eclipsed by other shows. However, Andor appears to be one of, if not the best Star Wars show. Could it be? Here are 9 reasons why we believe so. By the way, spoiler alert. Let's get started. Number 9. Slow and steady. Much of Disney's Star Wars content has followed the same model. The House of Mouse has tripped over itself in its desire to wow George Lucas devotees. From the dreadful J.J. Abrams films to the Book of Boba Fett. Of course, there was the obvious exception of The Mandalore with its spaghetti western themes. And then there's Baby Yoda, the cherubic snaffle of blue space biscuits. On the other hand, Andor differs from the others in that it begins slowly. In the first 4 episodes, almost nothing happens. You're witnessing space wallpaper dry at times. But Gilroy knows what he's doing. His drabness is calculated. Those who stick with Andor through the first few chapters are clearly on the showrunner's wavelength. So brace yourself to lean in as he follows Mon Mothma, played by Genevieve O'Reilly, a society figure and hidden rebel fundraiser. Also, as he navigates the bleak reality of life on the prison moon Narkina 5, to which Cassian is sentenced on fabricated accusations. Number 8. There are no Jedi. The phrase, "May the Force be with you," doesn't appear in Andor.
May the Force be with you.
Gilroy is shown as a casual Star Wars enthusiast. Nonetheless, he seems to have been seeing the original movie, in which the Force is considered an arcane mysticism. In Andor, he continues that theme by showing a Star Wars universe familiar to Han Solo, who famously felt that a blaster always topped a lightsaber. That hard-hitting sensibility pervades everything. The story begins in the red light district of Morlana 1, a cyberpunk industrial planet. From there, we accompany Cassian to Ferrix, a Rust Belt purgatory where everything creaks and needs fresh batteries. And that's just the people. Wait until you meet the droids. In doing so, he identifies with the Star Wars spirit. Remember how the best Lucasfilm, The Empire Strikes Back, ended with Han being betrayed by his best friend and Luke's arm being severed? Andor taps into the forgotten dark underbelly of the original Star Wars. Number 7. Outstanding casting. Recent Star Wars films have had maniacally inconsistent performances. There have been hot turns by stars on the verge of full-space pantomime for every natural-born charmer like John Boyega or Ewan McGregor. Some of the acting was so awful it defied belief. It takes a unique kind of incompetence to make Domhnall Gleeson look like a scenery chewer, for example. J.J. Abrams accomplished this in The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker. Gilroy, on the other hand, gets fantastic performances from his cast. Go, O'Reilly, and in particular Luna are unshowy and intense. What great casting. A cast of performers who appears to have been banged around by life and then blasted into deep space. A cast of this magnitude does not happen by chance, and it's certainly no coincidence that Gilroy chose to work with Nina Gold, a giant of the art form who's previously worked on Game of Thrones and was responsible for The Crown's consistently authentic casting, and who famously discovered Daisy Ridley and John Boyega for J.J. Abrams' The Force Awakens.
We need a pilot!
We've got one!
You!
It was also probably her idea to collaborate with another Force Awakens alum, Andy Serkis. Serkis is best recognized for his work in superior blockbusters like The Lord of the Rings and Planet of the Apes. In Andor, he ditched the mocap suit and gives a riveting performance as lippy prison convict Kino Roy. Serkis had reservations about taking the position. He was concerned that fans would associate him with the villainous Snoke in The Force Awakens. But he didn't have to worry. Andor is so far removed from the Abrams-verse in tone and subject matter that no one noticed. Number 6. Exciting action. As fans of the Bourne series will know, Gilroy enjoys a bloody battle scene. Among all the chatter, Andor provides its fair share. The invasion on the Imperial fortress at Aldhani is a thrilling robbery, and a later confrontation between Stellan Skarsgård's disguised rebel leader, Luthen Rael, and an Imperial surveillance craft plays out like a scene from an A&M Banks sci-fi novel. It's both action-packed and eerily beautiful, framed by a shining blue planet. Number 5. The realism. One of the season's primary plot lines revolves around Mon Mothma's efforts to conceal the money trail that links her to the rebels.
There's a good chance they'll miss what I'm really doing.
What are you really doing?
Raising money.
Another focuses on Rael and his commitment to ensuring that Andor does not represent a security concern to the Alliance. The first storyline is merely an accounting puzzle, while the second confirms Rael's ruthlessness equal to the Empire's. We can't vouch for the veracity of either because we've never been involved in an interplanetary uprising, but they do feel genuine. Number 4. The music. We all enjoy watching something with a good pick of music. The soundtrack to Andor is by Nicholas Britell, who has Oscar nods for Moonlight, If Bale Street Could Talk, and Don't Look Up, emphasizing the production's capital P grandeur. He also received an Emmy nomination for his wickedly catchy theme for HBO's Succession. He contributes something unique to Star Wars by collaborating with Gilroy. Andor is a galaxy far away from the typical, billowing George Lucas codas. Marva's funeral march is reminiscent of Stanley Kubrick and Daft Punk. Britell's music is a moving blend of Ennio Morricone and Colliery bands. Subsequently, he incorporates techno, retro synthwave pop, and minimalist classics. He never attempts to imitate John Williams. His use of analog synthesizers is a secret weapon, technology that links up with Gilroy's vision of the past and future intertwined in a tangled dance. It's the idea that comes before that trilogy in Rogue One, and it had an almost retro feel. This old analog synthesizer felt like we were going back to the beginnings of what we all know Star Wars is. Number 3. Stormtroopers who actually strike their target. The Imperial armies shoot to kill during the burial of Andor's adoptive mother and hit the target repeatedly as they mow down the population of Ferrix. When blasters are no longer effective, they pull out their nightsticks to beat the protesters to a pulp. Is it alright to say that after decades of ineffective stormtroopers, we finally got to watch them do their job? This ties into the larger theme of death mattering in Star Wars for the first time. As anyone who yawned through Han Solo being bumped off in The Force Awakens will recall, the stakes in the franchise were massively diminished after Disney stepped in. Gilroy, on the other hand, has restored equilibrium. When young rebel Karis Nemec gets a spinal injury during a raid on Aldhani, for example, it is apparent that this is a life-threatening condition from which he dies later. He'd be up and waving a lightsaber in no time in old-school Star Wars. And the entire season pivots on the death of Andor's adopted mother, who's sent out to the sounds of a sorrowful funeral march. Number 2. British accents.
What do we do here?
Sir?
What is our purpose, Legret?
On Vala 6?
I open the question to the room.
How can the banality of intergalactic evil be conveyed? Gilroy's answer is to cast washed-out, unshaven actors who seem like their last assignment was portraying a ne'er-do-well well in Albert Square as the Empire's Officer Corps. Bonus points for giving us a droid who breaks our hearts in B2 EMO. It's impossible not to be moved when he refuses to leave the home of his late mistress, Marva Andor. Star Wars fans have not cried so hard since the rise of Skywalker, and this time, the tears are for the right reasons. Number 1. The speeches.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
While Star Wars has its share of memorable lines, it isn't quite The Godfather. However, Gilroy's writing is laden with powerful lines that reinforce the show's themes of fate, sacrifice, and the idea that bravery comes at a cost. That is most evident in the character of Luthen, who succumbed to his evil side to launch the rebellion. What is my offering? I've been sentenced to utilize my adversary's tools to defeat them. I sacrifice my decency for the sake of someone else's future.
There's no longer any ground beneath my feet. What is my sacrifice?
I burn my life to create a sunrise I'll never see.
I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see.
The ego that started this conflict will never have a mirror, an audience, or gratitude's light. So what do I give up? Everything. It's classic, you got to admit. Never mind the best in Star Wars. It's one of the best TV monologues ever. But what is your pick? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more. But if you still think the show doesn't hold the title for being the best Star Wars show, then you're thinking of The Mandalorian. Check out this video for why it is the best Star Wars show. See you there.